on expanding role of telecom service providers in ensuring cybersecurity. I would actually like to introduce our opening address on Sri Rohit Sharma, the member of services. I would like to call him on the stage with a round of applause to present a keynote.
Hello, very good afternoon to all. So I welcome in the post-lunch session on enhancing cyber defense. As you know that we are expanding our network, our customer base, going from 3G to 4G, 4G to 5G, and then to 6G. Security is very, very important for the telecom network, as well as for our esteemed customers. So we have to take care of cyber security, and AI is playing the very important role on this one, so that we can aware our customers about the mobile number. We developed the Sanchar Sarthi portal for that, so that they can come to know how many mobile numbers are working on their mobile, on their Aadhaar card, how many they are using it and how many they are not using it, or they have not taken it. So they can just request on the portal, and unwanted numbers or not required numbers can be deleted from there. They can communicate the suspected fraud, maybe in the form of calls or SMS or social media message on the Sanchar Sarthi portal, and then action will be taken by our AI platform and DOT on that one. Then another important is the stolen and lost mobile handset. If somebody lost his mobile, he can book the complaint on the Sanchar Sarthi, and we will block so that nobody else can use the mobile set. And our stakeholders, different stakeholders are on the digital intelligence platform. All the state police, LEAs, TSPs. So real-time basis, we are sharing the information among each other, and they identify it. And out of 25 lakh mobile lost in last 1 year, around 11 lakh mobile connections were handed over to the customer by the police. So that is a big achievement. Then a person can check the genuine handset by inputting the IMC of the mobile handset. And then we are recently working on the incoming international calls received on the Indian telephone number, ICUR. That is also developed, and we will launch on the closing day of this event. Then we developed this digital intelligence platform that is called as Astra, and by using it, we are analyzing 134 mobile connections, out of which around 70 lakh were found on the fake or forged documents on which we are disconnected. We have all the stakeholders like the financial institutes, state police, I4C, NIA, FIU, and sharing the information on real-time basis. And we are acting on the intelligent information of other stakeholder. So that suppose you are disconnected the mobile number, its WhatsApp account will also be got disconnected with the help of WhatsApp. So we developed the SOP also on that, and around 11 lakh WhatsApp were disengaged. 11 lakh mobile banking account were frozen by the financial institutes because of the incorrect mobile numbers are taken on the fraudulent manner. On the regulation side, we have the Telecom Act 2023, where we are making the provision for the security measures also in the Act. Mandatory indisputable verification of each point of sale who are selling the SIM, and their e-verification also we are doing, biometric verification also we are doing. And if they are saying the SIMs on the fraudulent document, we are making the complaint with the help of police against them. We are disconnecting the bulk connections or introduction of business connections with the improper KYC or eKYC, all the old documents. Then we have the robust eKYC system when the SIM swapping or SIM replacement is taking place. So we are taking the measures so that we protect the security of the customer as well as security of the telecom network. So we want close coordination with all the telecom service providers also to come forward, work hand to hand, so that we provide robust communication to the customers in a secured manner. We are also filling up the skill gap among the cybersecurity experts with tie-up with the academia and setting up 100 5G labs so that they can do the R&D work, project work during their education, graduation degree. And then we are interacting, and our NCA, National Communication Academy, Ghaziabad, they have different course agreement with IITs. So, and recently we started a cyber course, a 6-month course, and we are providing the degree also on that one. So we are also meeting the demand of cyber experts in the field. So these are some of the initiatives taken by DOT with the help of telecom service providers and other stakeholders, and we want to provide the best services in a secure manner. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. I would like to expand our thanks to Shri Rohit Sharma for such insightful address on the agenda today. I would like to welcome our Lieutenant General M.U. Nair from National Cybersecurity Coordinator from National Security Council Secretariat to come on the stage and kindly bring your insights for us on the agenda today. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here at the IMC 2024. Last edition also, I had an opportunity to speak here, delivering the keynote. This time, seeing the number of speakers here for the session, 6 of them, I just thought that I'll give a smaller keynote with focus on certain things which we have done over a period of time. I had mentioned about comprehensive national power. Comprehensive national power is a function of multiple elements of the government's governance. It encompasses all issues of national security. And today, the cyber domain is one which connects all pillars of developmental goals of any government for that matter. And that's where you would have heard the Prime Minister also mention that cybersecurity is a national security issue today, something which you all need to factor in when you actually look at telecom networks. I'd mentioned last time, I'd spoken here, I'd mentioned about lack of clarity on responsibilities of various ministries in cybersecurity domain. This was one of the challenges which we faced. This has been addressed with the cybersecurity now being included in the allocation of business rules of various ministries with designated responsibilities. Coordination and strategic direction in this key domain of national security rests with the National Security Council Secretariat, and I'm sure this would lead to better coordination and management of key objectives envisaged in the domain of cybersecurity. However, a major objective on availability of skilled professionals to work on the specialized domain is a major challenge about which the member secretary also mentioned. We look upon each one of you here, including the telecom service providers, the industry, the academia, to find a solution to this. I think we are working together with all organs of the government to have this skill gap addressed. Now, as service providers bring in data traffic into and out of the country and managing it within the country, there's a need to ensure constant monitoring through effective mechanisms. While the TSOCs, the CERTIN, the NCIPC, and the NCCC, or even private threat intelligence platform can share threat intelligence and warn you or advise you on a responsive mechanism, you need to look at your own respective network operation centers and security operational centers for identifying vulnerabilities and plugging them. Even the smaller players can perhaps be piggybacking on the larger ones for protecting their respective ecosystems. We have the National Security Directive on Telecom called the NSDTS, which will ensure effective checks on supply chain vulnerabilities. The scope of the National Security Directive on Telecom Services will increase over the next few years, where we will ensure that every device that gets connected to a network or hardware or software used are all from a trusted source and is a trusted product. We propose to have a device being connected to a network to be a trusted product in near future. At the device ecosystem level, we'll have to ensure that they're also free from vulnerabilities, as also the application ecosystem which rides on the networks. Many of the threats are within the capability of the network providers to tackle today, provided they monitor the network regularly for vulnerabilities and enhance adequate research and development in the cybersecurity domain. This is something which each of the TSPs here can support us with. Large number of projects to protect the cyberspace has been carried out by the various ministries, including our own organization at the NSCS, and they're all available to you, the users. We are ever willing to take on any fresh proposals and which can assist in enhancing the cyber posture of our nation. There have been a large number of deliberations on emerging technology domains, on domains of AI and quantum. Both of them have in-depth impact on cybersecurity domain, on strengthening the ecosystem, as also on finding the loopholes which can be exploited by scamsters or anti-national elements. The member secretary alluded to some of the steps which the DOT has been taking, some of the initiatives which are all laudable. While artificial intelligence domain and generative AI features have enhanced the bandwidth and windows of opportunities for cyber criminals, it has also features which will assist in identifying vulnerabilities and trends proactively, besides analyzing ecosystems. Quantum is a domain where we are looking at critically PQC and QKD as opportunities and looking at R&D in these domains, even through close participation of the industry. A lot of work is taking place in this field in our country. We have created an info repository of all developments through a common platform called the Tech Saga. You can actually Google it and you can see it, that it's a platform where in many areas of research being carried out in our research institutions, startups and organizations having products indigenously developed to support our initiatives and technology domain, especially in critical areas, are all included as part of Tech Saga portal, which is available to the environment, though it's in a beta version at this point of time. As the audience would already be aware, conflict situations emerge in many parts of the world today, and as a nation, we are constantly engaged in battles to safeguard our sovereignty, security, and privacy from intrusive and anonymous threats, both in physical domains as also in virtual domains. India today ranks as one of the top 3 cyber-targeted nations in the world, and as a result of our vibrant and expanding digital public infrastructure. The predominant forms of cyber attacks include data breaches, identity theft, financial theft, and so on. Targeted cyber attacks on our national resources and critical infrastructure have become more vigorous, and with these attacks having the potential to jeopardize our national security as also our social well-being. The reported cases of cyber attacks may just be a tip of the iceberg. The actual figures may be much larger. We also need to consider threats like ransomwares, supply chain infections, which have made the challenge more complex. Ransomware attacks have emerged as a major cybersecurity threat, especially against critical infrastructure, which can have a major impact on utility services to our citizens, besides impinging on public safety as also security. While several measures have been taken at multiple levels to maintain integrity of our supply chain, as I mentioned earlier, focused on our networks, a lot of additional measures need to be done, and our approach towards achieving self-reliance in ICT sector, supported by a strong regulatory and legal framework, can be the ideal way ahead. Incident detection in a proactive manner and mitigation post-event management of events, restoration, attribution, and response mechanism are also facets of cyberspace management that we are closely looking at. Improving security controls to ensure a resilient cyber ecosystem, synergy, collaboration, and coordination is probably the best way ahead. We also look towards the TSPs and ISPs actively contributing towards making cyberspace more secure. They all need to be part of the CII and needs to initiate actions for enhancing their own cybersecurity standards. The skill development framework for cybersecurity skills, something which is on the drawing board for quite some time, as I had mentioned a little earlier. We are also looking at growing necessity to train professionals in cybersecurity domain, We generate so many computer science graduates in our universities today, but none of them have adequate knowledge on cybersecurity domain, which is a fact. We are also trying to have a dedicated cybersecurity university, which can actually meet the requirements of the ecosystem. We all need to sit and take notice of cyberspace, an area of commonality, connecting all pillars of developmental goals of our government and having an impact on every common citizen of our country. I'm sure our efforts together in this domain with wholehearted participation of all citizens, the industry, the academia, and the whole of government approach to address the cybersecurity challenges will help in making our cyberspace less vulnerable and more secure. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, Lieutenant General M.U. Nair, sir, for your expertise. It really has given a very in-depth knowledge. I thank you on behalf of our entire gathering today. Moving further, we have our keynote speaker session with Mr. Vivek Srivastav. I would like him to welcome on stage and kindly address the gathering with your keynote session, sir. Thank you.
Very good afternoon. Am I audible back there? Is it okay? Very good. Thank you so much. I think we heard our keynote speakers talking about the cybersecurity relevance. I thought I will try and extend the topic a little further to the role of TSPs or service providers, of how they extend the cybersecurity to the common people and the smaller businesses as well across. While we are set to discuss this further with the other dignitaries as well here in the room, I thought I'll probably bring about some of the pointers that we see as Fortinet. Fortinet being one of the top 3 cybersecurity companies in the world, and we work very closely with the TSPs across globe as well as in India. So we thought we'll bring about some of those pointers that probably we can use for food for thought, in the further conversation. Quickly talking about the trends that we are seeing. I think the first and foremost piece being the shift towards cloud. Till now, the infrastructures have been extremely well addressing the IT security risk, but now the spending, 50% of the spending by 2025 is moving into cloud. That means we need to relook at our cybersecurity strategy, per se. There is a growing adoption of platform-centric, security, and that's primarily on 2 counts. One, that the organization and enterprises, they want pretty clear understanding of what is their capability of detecting the threats, how fast can they detect, and how fast can they respond to a cybersecurity threat there in their organization. And platform actually comes a long way to deliver that expectation, on that expectation. The third piece that we believe is very crucial, from service provider standpoint, to understand, how we deliver security in the environments where the consolidation and merger and acquisitions are happening. In fact, if you see, in 2023 itself, close to about 400, such large deals were announced. And while I talk about the 24, H1 itself, there are 178 large acquisitions that we are seeing. That means the responsibility comes back, with the challenges of, consolidating these vendors, different tools, different processes, and ensure that the cybersecurity is still maintained at the same level. The use of AI, we are all talking about AI being one of those very strong tools that's available to us, for digital inclusion for the larger, masses. But at the same very time, I would say it's a double-edged sword. While it gives us the capability and enhances our capability in detection and remediation of attacks, it also adds the capability to our adversaries to leverage AI and build more and more sophisticated and advanced attacks. So that piece has to be absolutely understood when the new offerings are being built in cybersecurity areas. We are seeing more and more integration into IT and OT technologies. In fact, if you see the data points, you will also find that the attacks on OT infrastructure or IoT infrastructures have also gone up, drastically as well. The security frameworks that we have are absolutely good, very matured when it comes to the IT infrastructure. I think the same level of maturity has to be now extended into the OT infrastructure as well when it comes to security operations. And last but not the least, there is a growing demand for trust and transparency. I think General Nair also talked about the supply chain issues that we are having. I think it's very, very important that service providers also work with the vendors, in quickly identifying, in case if there are vulnerabilities and, addressing those along with them and talking about those so that they can be addressed as swiftly as possible. So these are some of the trends that we are seeing, globally, from service provider perspective when it comes to cybersecurity. But there are other challenges as well that you will primarily see from the delivery perspective that the service providers are actually addressing right now. The first and foremost, being the transformation, or rather I would say transition from a typical telecom company to, to become a technology company. And that has been forced upon them primarily because the digital acceleration that we have seen in last 10 years, have led customers to acquire so many technologies. And the expectation on service providers are that they will be able to deliver on that. They'll be able to manage those technologies for them. While what we are also seeing globally is that there is also a kind of a downshift that's happening on the typical MPLS revenue. Revenues are also kind of eroding towards the cloud service providers as well from typical service providers, TSPs per se. The demand from the organizations and the customers are that everything that they offer, has to have cybersecurity, taken care of, whether it's the typical, managed services per se, or the advanced private 5G and the other services that they're, trying to build going forward. The piece from the, consolidation perspective, the ask is that they transform their environment so that their environment, their networks are able to, build advanced cybersecurity services onto that and help customers, remove those complexity as well. While we are talking about these trends and, challenges that we are seeing, I personally, very strongly believe that in India, we've got a very, very mature telecom players. We've got a very, very mature, industry which is in telecom. And I believe that because of their reach, because of their touch points, because of the affordability that they have built for the large masses, they are very well poised to execute on that piece. And that's the reason we very strongly believe that when it comes to cybersecurity, for everyone, TSPs play a very, very crucial and important role, per se. I'll also talk about some of the areas, where we believe, it's very crucial that, service providers start, focusing on a lot to build these cybersecurity services. First and foremost being, bringing the offerings and simplify those offerings against the complexities of multi-vendor environment, that many organizations face. Many organizations today who will need the cybersecurity may not have wherewithal of actually managing so many vendors. So the onus is actually on the service providers to build services to break those silos per se. The portfolio services typically from service providers have been managing the devices. The ask now is to expand and look at the real life use cases of cybersecurity and address those, with customized services. The skill gap that even General Lair also talked about, is something that's going to be there for us for some more time. While the efforts are being made, the expectation is that the service providers who come in to offer those cybersecurity services will also bring in these skills to solve that problem for our customers. And the continued challenge of increasing the revenue, continues to be there, per se. The expectation that our customers, have, from service providers is something that we looked at from a survey perspective. See, it's a very simple, plain, expectation. 65% of them, expect their service providers to provide end-to-end offer. They do not want to go to different vendors and, manage multi-vendors. They expect them to be able to offer, along with the bandwidth. And these services has to be, validated through third parties so that they can trust as well. 63% of them, they want the service provider to be able to customize the services. If there is an industry-specific threat that needs to be addressed with the newer services, the service provider should be able to do that as well. The SLA demands, continues to, grow up, when it comes to cybersecurity as well. And there are, suite services which are, being used by multiple service providers worldwide. They are now very well taken up, and the expectation is that those are extended into cybersecurity, domains as well. I'll quickly probably take a minute and so and talk about which are the 3 technology areas that we believe where the transformation from service providers offerings are expected. The first and foremost being the security-driven networking. The expectation is that it's not just the managed devices, but the overall, managed services along with security and networking is the area where the service providers have to build the services as well as the capabilities, whether it's the SD-WAN capability, firewall capability, or ZTNA or zero trust networks, offering there as well. it is expected that we are not going to get cybersecurity operations capability built across all the organizations or enterprises, and that's where these have the TSPs play a very, very crucial role. So security operations, manage security operations, manage services, incident response, manage detection and response. These are the other areas where customers expect to simplified offering to be coming up from our TSPs. The similar extension of capabilities into the cloud infrastructure of our customers is something also expected out of service providers. So these are the three typical areas that we, from technology standpoint, which play a very, very crucial role for TSPs to come forward and extend cybersecurity controls and the offerings to the larger masses and organizations. Thank you so much. That's all that I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. I would like to now we will be moving on with the further panel discussion of our today's discussion agenda on the expanding role of telecom service providers in ensuring cybersecurity. I would request Mr. VP Cybersecurity and Cloud Services from Bharti Airtel, Amit Chaudhary, to please come on the stage as our first panelist. I would now request Mr. Executive Director from Telecommunications Consultants India Limited, Rajesh Chandra Jangir, sir, to please come on the stage. I now request our Lieutenant General Dr. S.P. Kochar from COAI to please come on the stage and join us as our third panelist. I now request Country Manager India and SAARC from Fortinet, Vivek Srivastava sir, to kindly join us on the stage, please. Moving ahead, I would like to extend and request our Naval HQ officer from Indian Navy, Commander Ankit Purohit, to kindly join us on the stage. And last but not the least, I would request our Director DT Cyber Strategy, Akansha Saxena, to please join on the stage as a moderator from KPMG.
Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to this panel discussion. I would like to start with some statistics. As of early 2024, around 78% of our entire population has been using mobile network, and our internet penetration has also significantly increased. So we see that, what kind of exponential growth it has been in terms of, digital consumption and connectivity. And with this kind of trend, telecom service providers are emerging as the key defenders against the tide of cybersecurity threats. We have our distinguished panelists today, and we'll be discussing all the trends and technologies topics that Vivek had touched upon as part of his keynote session. So my first question is for you, Vivek. With this kind of growing cyber threat, what are the key challenges that you see India is facing in current scenario pertaining to cybersecurity?
A few pointers were discussed by General Nair as well, of what we are seeing. I'll give you probably some of the pointers that we are seeing. We have been in India for about 20 years, providing cybersecurity to, we serve close to about 40,000 customers here in India. So I'll give you a view from what we are seeing from our research lab per se. I think the first and foremost is the problem that we all dread, is ransomware. It continues to go up, but I'll tell you the two important factors that we are seeing. The first piece is more and more targeted now. It's not spraying of ransomware any further. It's very targeted. And in 43% of the cases that we are seeing, it's actually targeted to industrial segment. What Sir also I think was talking about is the critical infrastructure as well. So that becomes one of the biggest challenge that we are facing as a country. The second piece is the supply chain vulnerabilities and the contamination that we are seeing. See, we are fifth largest economy. We are a global economy. We are no more silo. So anything that happens, of any supply chain issue that comes in, we get impacted, very quickly. So that's the second challenge that we see. Supply chain contamination is a big problem that we are, seeing. The third issue that we are seeing is that while the adoption of cloud has been very rapid, here in India, The frameworks, from security standpoint, is still not up to the mark what it used to be for on-premise per se. The fourth piece that I will say is the skill gap. I think a lot being done on addressing that, but still we've got a long way, to go in bridging that skill gap that we are seeing. So these are the 4 pointers that I see are the primary ones, per se for India right now.
I think very relevant. Ransomware, supply chain security, cloud adoption, and artificial intelligence are. So my next question is for you, Amit. Customer safeguarding the customer is always at the core of any organization. So as with digital transformation accelerating across all the industries, how can service providers ensure their customers, from individuals to enterprises, are protected from this kind of growing threat landscape?
Very valid question, I would say. And very good afternoon to each one of you. First, speakers and Rajesh himself has put a right map saying what telcos should do. And with a tongue-in-a-cheek statement, if I can say, telcos have been definitely responsible for proliferation of adoption of digital technologies, but they're also responsible for spreading of the cyber war, right? They're the ones, because it is connected, there is a cyber crime. It's time for us to gear up and say that we should be responsible for making and spreading awareness amongst, and also protecting the digital assets of the country. It's a right responsibility, and I take that, saying it's equally mine. How telco can really help? I think we have all the right ingredients and learn from ourselves. If I look at in this industry, BFI and telco are the two most attacked industries, what you see. I mean, traditionally you have been seeing last 7, 8, 10 years, BFSIs and telcos have been attacked day in, day out. And the kind of attacks which we have seen are not just multi-stage, multi-phase, but then much more complex. Supply chain definitely being one of the most complex, and running a telco needs a lot of partner ecosystem. And hence our attack system or attack surface is very, very wide. We've been protecting ourselves, touch wood, with God's grace, very, very effectively. And there's a lot of learnings on our side also, which we can pass on to our customers. From an individual per se, if I can count on a raise of hands, and how many have seen Airtel Spam Protect? This is what a telco can really change. What AI can bring into a telco environment, and how can it get passed on to customers as an individuals to protect. So first of all, it's an awareness which basically comes out for an individual to know that what is right for me, whether the information which is being given or passed on, is it a genuine one, or there is any possibility of fake messages or the calls. From an enterprise per se, I was part of Elite CISO forum last week, and they were asking a similar question that we all know what cybersecurity is. What telco has anything to add on? But those were elite really in those organizations, and hence the kind of cybersecurity practice what we have amongst the enterprises are still very, very limited. Not many, I would say, not more than 25% of the organizations today, enterprise or SMBs, have a CISO practice or a security practice. It's our responsibility to take that ahead and say, my network comes protected. You can rely on me. And the right statement to make that, if I can protect myself as a large enterprise, as a large organization, as a telco, right, I will do it right for you, right? I think that says it all.
Yeah, I think you have covered both the customer and the enterprise aspect, and what kind of key role the telecom service provider plays in that. We also heard about a lot of trend related to cloud adoption, and telecom service providers have very rapidly adopted different kinds of cloud model, hybrid models. So Kailash, my next question is for you. What kind of challenges that you see the telecom service providers are facing in ensuring secure data transmission across various models of cloud?
So I take this security only, and was there any threat of security in say 80s and 90s on the telecom network itself? And at that time, the telecom network was so vital. The reason being, there was no separate railway network, there was no separate defense network, everything was being managed by P&T at that point of time, which became Department of Telecom. So was there any threat? The answer is yes, there was big threat. One is the physical security. So all the assets and the installation has to be kept secure. If you have seen, maybe some colleagues of ours might have seen those era when entry prohibited in the telephone exchange and only the authorized person can enter into to ensure the physical security of those vital infrastructure. Another one is, was there any intrusion at that point of time? Yes, the answer is yes. How? The lineman used to climb on the pole of this telephone system and used to have the parallel telephone and used to listen the voices of anybody. And even the parallel telephone in two rooms also the children can listen what you are speaking to. Second thing, I don't know if anybody of you use that 180 trunk call system, wherein two persons are going to call at a distance and the operator sitting in the telephone exchange is able to hear you, and after 3 minutes he say, sir, would you like to extend this call further? So now everything, the security issues were there at that point of time also, but era has changed. The telecom has evolved. Now we are talking of, initially there was the physical hardware, then it came that information technology started embedding into the telecom system, and then the convergence of IT and telecom happened somewhere in say 2000 or so when this IT bubble came. Over a period, the IT took over everything from telecom, and now everything, every infra is actually in information technology IT asset, and that's why the vulnerability is there. The access to IT asset is there with everybody. So again, I am talking, so you ask the question of cloud. In say I talk about say 2000 somewhere, again the IT infra were in isolated way. That was not interconnected at all. So there is one system operating the telephone, another system have the billing, another is the IN for your prepaid, and then BSS, then CDR, somebody is recording or fetching from the system and giving the bills to you. What happened over a period? Everything got integrated over one system, which we call the biggest elephant, that is the cloud. The question you asked about. Everything is sitting there and there is no control of yours. Where the cloud is, what is residing in that cloud, and who is accessing that cloud at any given point of time. Further to that, say now AI has come. That is the another thing, another I can say small elephant which entered into our lives. Somebody say AI is very good. It eases our life, but I think the gentleman has covered in his presentation the 48%. AI is actually creating more threat than helping us. So, because you know, जो बोलते हैं ना चोर हमसे आगे चलते हैं. So they think of before we think. So they are using the AI and entering into that cloud domain which you are asking, and creating all those vulnerabilities which most of the telecom operators at this point of time are actually doing the reactive solutions of that. The proactive solutions are not yet in place. Otherwise, we can see zero threat. You see, in recent past, there is around, I have seen a report where the threat on telecom network has grown up to 177%. I would say 177% more than any other IT infrastructure. Why people are targeting this? It can collapse the network infrastructure, the telecom setup, the say premium customer data is there that is residing in this network, and it can collapse the economy of some country. So I think we have reached as a stage where we have to think every second that how can we secure this network, the telecom network especially. The other systems are not so vulnerable and not so important. I can safely say that.
Agree.
So I think
Sure.
that's all. Thank you.
So,
Sir, I will quickly answer your question. 30 years back, I knew the threat actor in my home can be my mother, who can be eavesdropping and listening my call with my friend's call on the other parallel line. Today, I don't know the threat actor. So that's how the technology has evolved.
There might be many person might be listening. You don't know. Somebody might be recording it. Somebody might be sending it. So you never know. It could happen to you.
I think in order to enhance the security, partnership and collaboration becomes very important. And my next question is to you, Kocha sir, that how collaboration and partnership between telecom and cybersecurity sector can enhance innovation and enhance the security capabilities within the country.
Thank you for your question, but I will broaden your question. Firstly, let me say, which I've been often saying, there is nothing known as telecom anymore. There is no telecom. It is a compound of ICT, electronics, cyber, and data. They have all been rolled into one. And this is something which cannot be separated from each other. Yet, when we try to secure each component, we do it separately. So that causes a lot of vulnerabilities rather than security. And that is something the policymakers should take note of, that all four of them have to be looked at unified and handled accordingly. The second thing I want to bring out is that what was brought out by the previous speaker, that there are two aspects in networking which have increased our vulnerabilities. And while the threats are like old wine in a new bottle, but the new vulnerabilities are something which we have to look at. One is, of course, the cloud. And cloud may not come in the jurisdiction of the country it is serving, so hence that becomes even much more vulnerable. The second thing is software-defined elements. Now, with software-defined elements coming into play, while we have achieved a lot of flexibility and adaptability in the network, we have also introduced vulnerability from layer 1 to layer 7. Up to now, whatever people have been talking about is about layer 7 vulnerabilities. But today, it is not only layer 7 which is vulnerable, all the 7 layers are vulnerable. And hence, they need to be addressed. And they can be addressed only if there is collaboration, and especially collaboration between startups, industry, and government. So otherwise, we will be looking only at one aspect, and again, we will go wrong.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. The next trend that we spoke about was about IT and OT convergence. So my next question is for you, Ankit, that how can the convergence of IT and OT environment in this scenario, what strategies should providers adopt to protect their digital and physical infrastructure?
Thank you. Very valid question in today's networking environment. I will start with the pillars of cybersecurity. They are people, process, and technology. Whenever we are going ahead with any kind of a procurement, it is very important to define the technical specifications of the product, whether it is a OT product or it is a IT product. It requires good knowledge, good past experience, and somebody should be well versed what kind of requirement he has and what kind of a product will bridge the technical specifications and requirement for the organization. So, technical specifications defined are the key aspects which bridge the right product, whether the OT product or the IT product. The main differentiation we formulate between a OT product is where we connect up the SCADA and the embedded systems. The IT product still deals with a lot of data transfer and communication set of people. So both are providing information for the decision making to the environment, but both are different sets and have different QRs, and those need to be nichely defined by the organization.
I think technical specifications are really important because those are the guiding principles. The another trend that we spoke about was artificial intelligence. So the question is, how can telecom service providers leverage AI to improve their threat detection, automate response actions, and effectively manage the entire end-to-end cycle of cybersecurity incident? So Vivek, if you can start, and then maybe Amit, you can add your views.
If you give me liberty, I'll take probably 30 seconds talking about one of the points that sir raised. 20 years or back or 30 years back, what was the piece of threat that we had on the telecom network? I'll give you an example. I remember very early days in my career. and one of the largest telecom provider in US. Early 2000, late 99 or something, early 2000, got hacked. And the hacker, at that point in time, mostly the intentions were disruption. The intentions was not to make money, which is what we see these days. Got hacked. And the hacker only did one small thing. He just changed the clock from AM to PM. And at that point in time, the billing in the night used to be 1/4, half. By just changing the clock by AM to PM, they actually suffered, millions and millions of dollars because it took them, good 7 days to realize what actually has happened. So that was the first large telecom attack that, I remember, that I recall. Anyways, coming back to the point that on AI, as I said, AI works for both the sides, right? It works for us, it works for the adversaries as well, and probably working slightly better for adversaries as of now, because I'm seeing our research lab is seeing them leveraging it, for multiple of the activities. I think the quick social engineering exercise that they used to do, now it's all handed over to AI. The deep fakes that we are talking about is all handed over to AI. The malware creation that we talk about, the coding of those malwares is handed over to AI. So they are leveraging it, big time. Coming back to the good guys, telecom providers and cybersecurity vendors, how we look at AI is, as I said, I normally look at the AI primarily from 3 standpoints. First and foremost is how we can leverage AI for better detection and faster detection. We cannot be expecting a world where we can protect or prevent everything. So we need to have mechanism. How quickly can we detect if something is going wrong? So AI can come a long way, and we are actually at Fortinet for 10 years. We have built a ANN, artificial neural network, where we actually process through AI millions and millions of sample every single day, and we come out with almost near perfect accuracy on disposition, whether it's bad or good. So detection can be a very, very good solution leveraging AI. The second piece is predicting the attacks. When you are through the attack, normally an advanced attack goes through multiple stages, and AI, which is learned already how the typical attacks take place, can actually predict what could be the next step for the attacker. So we are leveraging that in prediction as well, per se. The third piece is the typical operations, security operations. I think we are not going to have a world where we will have a lot of resources available to us, and that's where the AI comes in on day-to-day mundane tasks to be handed over to them. Orchestrate, automate a lot of those activities, look at every single thing possible, hand it over to AI, and get your skill set only into those which are actually very critical, which actually need some attention. So this is how I see AI being leveraged, and I think at least for Airtel, I can talk about them. From their security operations perspective, they are leveraging these automation and orchestration a lot, leveraging these AI capabilities as well.
Amit, your views? I think predictive analysis, rapid detection, and using it for the entire operations is something that
Absolutely.
AI can
So AI plays a very vital role in the operations, and what we have also seen is the complexity of the operation of the cyber attacks are actually identified if you use AI. And I would second that thought, Vivek, what you said. We've seen various roles and tools which are available in the market today, which gives you insights of how the cyber framing is happening, how attack surface is getting exploited, or generally it is known that MITRE attack framework or all those attack frameworks, how maturity of the attack is happening. AI plays a very, very valid and critical role here. In our environment, I can say that what we are also leveraging is intel. There is a lot of threat intel data which is available. Across all the security OEMs, they have a lot of threat intel. And telco has its own threat intel. A lot of data which is actually passing by as a junction point on the telco backbone, right? And all the ISPs backbone for that matter. If you really use this together to say what is passing by on your backbone and globally what is happening wrong, globally what is wrong, what is bad, if you put that together in a orchestrated way, you would get to know that the attacks and which are actually growing or in the initial stage and attacking to which customer. You can actually put a framework on this and say, this is the landscape I can see, and these are the customers who are under attack, or maybe it's an initial stage of the attack. So early prediction, identification at the right time, also mitigating once you're under attack, coming out of it with IR, incident response kind of a service, mitigation is very, very important in AI role. Yeah.
Thanks, Amit. So while we are discussing all the trends, how can we leave apart 5G? So my next question is to you, Kailash, that with this rapid use of 5G technology, what kind of security challenges that you see have been introduced by this technology, and how service provider can mitigate the risks that are being posed by the technology?
As I said, the telecom evolved from isolated infrastructure to integrated infrastructure, and 5G has actually added the vulnerability a lot. The reason being because now everything is IP based. So the telecom network per se used to be, if we talk about the technology, it was TDM, PDS, these, that, so many. So no IP address was there. It is purely a circuit switching function in the earlier era. Now it is purely IP based technology. So IP means routing, accessibility to everybody. So 5G is actually created more vulnerability than given the solution to these cyber attacks. And it's, I think, and I would say one thing regarding 5G, if you have seen the trends of the cost in telecom spend, earlier it used to be the hardware only, then it was say OSS, BSS spends were highest, then came the era when the regulatory or licensing was too high. And you have to pay too much to the government to run those networks. Then came the IT systems, and now I am seeing the future that the security spends are going to be more and more in the era of this 5G, 6G, where everything is riding on IP, everything is vulnerable, everything is hosted somewhere else. You might have a system, the telecom setup tomorrow, which is hosted somewhere in other country if the regulator accepts this, and now giving the services to everywhere in the world. So you don't know who is accessing, who is doing what, and what is the intent of this. So, well, 5G is creating this thief environment everywhere, easy to intrude into.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The increased IPification. Ankit, do you want to add anything in terms of 5G?
I can say I can partially agree to him because security and functionality features, do not go hand in hand. So if you want features, if you want a good speed, you will have to go for 5G. You will have to take 6G also. So there is no escape to it. Point well taken that yes, infrastructure, resources, and skilled manpower has to improve on security part.
Absolutely. Okay, so Vivek, one of the trend that you quoted was related to trust and transparency. So if you can elaborate, why there is a need for trust and transparency in cybersecurity practices, and how service providers can ensure that these principles are effectively implemented. Maybe you can use that.
Okay, so we discussed one of the pieces on 5G, right? Why we are saying 5G is very crucial is primarily because we are looking at 5G to be used as a conduit to deliver more and more services. It's a high speed, highway that you're creating for every individual citizen and every small business as well. When you build, these services, whether it's citizen services by government or whether it's the business services that are built by various organizations, the adoption of these will depend on the trust that you create in the overall ecosystem and infrastructure. Primarily, whether it's safe or not. As I think the morning also there was another conversation where this point came in. I was saying there is a good amount of deficit that we see in trust across people of adopting to these advanced services or technologies which are available. So we need to, of course, take steps to ensure that that deficit is removed from trust. Otherwise, the adoption of these technologies and digital services will not be there. And ideally, you see service providers who are primarily extending that connectivity to the organizations as well at the endpoint, can play a very, very important role there. All they got to do is to be very clear about how the data is being handled, be very transparent about it, what are the mechanisms available, what are the recourses available for the organizations and for the people what are the best practices that they are following, communicate more and more about it, and make sure that every new service that comes in, every new ecosystem that is coming in, cybersecurity is taken care as a core part of it, and communicate more and more about it. I think that's how the trust will get built over a period of time, and we'll see more and more adoption per se.
Yeah, digital trust is a game changer. My next question is for you, Kocha sir. What role do regulatory bodies and industry associations play in helping service provider navigate through these cybersecurity challenges, especially being posed by emerging technologies?
That's a very tall order. You brought in the entire ecosystem, right? Firstly, we must understand, all three of us must understand what are the diktats of cybersecurity as of today. And once we've understood that, then we have to predict what are the challenges that are going to come about, and that has to be dynamic prediction in the sense that it has to have a feedback loop, and that feedback loop will come from the government to the regulators, from the industry to the regulators, and then the regulators will do due diligence and then make whatever necessary changes are required in regulation and policy. The other input to this feedback loop will come from technology providers, because technology is changing so fast. So at any one point of time in any network, you will find legacy, you will find current equipment, and you will find futuristic equipment all put together. And each one of them is required to be handled separately, both from a regulation point of view and from security point of view. So to make that work, there is a necessity to make all three of them sit together and have a discussion and then go forward. If only one agency does it, if the regulators do it on their own, they will be able to do it. They are knowledgeable people, but then it will not be dynamic and it will not be adaptable to changing times. Hence, the necessity of time is that we all sit together across a table. The decision, of course, will be of the government, but they should take, as they are taking these days, they should take the inputs from industry and also marry it up with technology.
Absolutely, sir. I think feedback loop and those kind of joint discussions are really important. With this, we are coming to the end of our panel discussion, and my last question, and that is for all of you, and maybe we'll start with you, Ankit. In one sentence, what is the most important action the industry should take to strengthen cybersecurity in coming years?
There is no straight answer to this, but it will keep on changing because the cyber security is something which is keep on evolving. Presently, with my understanding, the skilled manpower is the biggest challenge which we should improve upon.
Sure. Kailash, maybe your views?
Before that, let me say what rides on this telecom network in today's era. And two important aspects. One, the entire national security is on this telecom network. Why so? All the security agencies trace the culprits, find so many things, the CDRs, locations, everything from telecom network only. So national security is actually riding on today's telecom network. It was not earlier. Second is the entire financial setup is there on this telecom network. Your OTP comes through this network only. Your banking setup is through this network only. So the awareness to the end user is very, 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 very important to protect these two aspects of one, the national security. I have to be very, very careful while using this network. If any threat comes, any vulnerability comes, I have to tackle, immediately inform to the right agencies, and also take utmost care of my financial transactions. As I said, this rides on entirely on telecom network, today's telecom network. So these are two biggest things we have to keep in mind. The public has to be more aware than anybody else. That is my one take on this.
Absolutely. Vivek, your views?
I think not even a single organization or a single person can solve this problem alone. The call of the hour is that the entire ecosystem has to come together. starting from government to different agencies to cybersecurity vendors to telecom service providers. All of them have to come together, collaborate better, work with each other better to be able to address this.
Coaches, sir, any closing remarks for our audience?
Yeah. So whatever they said are important points, but I think the network is as secure as its weakest link. So therefore, it is necessary for the people who own the networks to identify which is the weakest link and to use the same set of security rules on all aspects and all services which flow over the network and not do it differentially.
Amit.
Well, aligned with all the speakers here, I would say because environment will keep changing, right? What is there today will definitely change. We spoke about CPUs, now it's talking about GPUs, and something else will come XPUs tomorrow. So things will change, applications will change. In one line, if I have to summarize what needs to be done today, is adopt to a zero trust architecture. First, always verify and never trust. And second thing is if it is connected, it should be protected. That's the baseline of it.
Thank you so much, Amit. I think all of you will agree it was a very insightful panel, and thank you, distinguished panelists, for making it so engaging. In interest of time, I'm sorry we'll not have a lot of time to ask audience, open the forum for audience for questions, but if there are any one question, or, yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Thank you. 1.5 minutes, Professor N.K. Goyal, Chairman of Telecom Manufacturing Association. First, I want to compliment Airtel on their spam policy, whatever they have done. My request, please spread to the world this thing. Spread to the world. Let all other operators in the world also follow the same thing. My second question, as Vivek said, why we don't have trust in the policy? Because when somebody makes XG, he says so many plus points, but he never talks of cyber safety, which you spoke yourself. My third comment, which is very odd, bullshit comment, is, are we going to an area within next 3, 4, 5, 6 years that people will simply close down internet mobile because of the increasing cyber risk and digital risk coming up now? Thank you.
Okay, point taken, sir. We'll definitely be happy to share how we did it and how we are able to protect. In fact, this is first in the world. We have seen this, while we are claiming this is definitely first in the country, but this is first in the world that a telco is able to use through an AI and orchestration of its own platform and data what it has to identify what's happening inside and what's the spammer, right? It took a lot of learning on our own network, and obviously we were able to bring it up. We'll circulate it on. And last point, because it was related, I don't think there will be a day when people will shut down their phone or throw their phone. It's not that Akshay Kumar movie, where the phones were playing the gimmick, but definitely we will have the security framework ready much before that, when devices take control of our life, and we'll definitely have that thing.
We'll just take a last question.
गोयल साहब, जब बैलगाड़ी चलती थी और रेलगाड़ी आई, तब भी यही क्वेश्चन आया था. So कुछ बंद नहीं होने वाला, सब चलेगा.
So, Akanksha, just to, in the interest of the audience, I just want to say the 5G security you told. We have the 5G, it depends on the network slicing. The slice parts you will find out how you make the different slice to be secure. And also it will run with a lot of vertical applications. The API parts which will call to that, how will make it secure. And the cloudification which will play a very important role in the 5G. So that also we'll see how we'll make the cloud to be secure. And we never thought of E node B is a secure point when we in 4G, but in 5G, G node B will play a very important role. So we have to find out how we'll make G node B to be secure. And I just have one question to Vivek. How we are going to test the large language models? We have been trying, putting a lot of people to test the large language models. So is there any framework? Normally NIST come out with a lot of framework. Is there any framework to test the large language models, because they depends on a lot of neural networks, that depends on the feed forward and back propagation. So how actually we'll test it? I just want to hear of.
See, we leverage LLM in one of the services that we offer through one of the technologies on orchestration side and assistance, the 40 guard assistant that comes for people. So we leverage LLM there. The way we look at it is that very soon you will see the frameworks being developed, very clear frameworks being developed. Work is already on, a lot of agencies are working on it to ensure that you have a cybersecurity set of rules and guidelines available of how you leverage LLM into your services per se. The work is actually on at NIST as well. They are also already working on it. The way we are leveraging it, we are only adding additional safeguards, when it comes to data communication, between the models and our own, technology. So additional safeguards is the answer as of now, but very soon you will start seeing the guidelines and the frameworks also, including that as well. Already some work is going on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll take the questions later because we'll have to start another panel, but you can ask questions after the session. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. Thanks.
Thank you everyone for an insightful discussion. I think it was a very eye-opening contribution and discussion which added immense value in a very profound way. Moving on, I would request our moderator to distribute the mementos to our respective panelists. Amit Chaudhary. Vivek Srivastava, sir. Vivek Srivastava, sir. Commander Aniket Purohit. Kailash Chandra Jangi, sir. I would also like to propose and present the mementos to our moderator. Last but not the least, our Dr. S.P. Kochi, sir, Lieutenant General. I would like to also call our inaugural addressees on the stage to present the mementos. Shri Rohit Sharma, sir, and Lieutenant General M.U. Nair, sir. Please join us on the stage with a huge round of applause, everybody. एक और